Parramatta Eels sacking Brad Arthur. It came as a pretty big shock to a lot of people. It's surprising a lot of these stories often get leaked into the papers, but this one was kept quite a secret. Do we know who is the front runner at this stage to take over from Brad?
Yeah, look, the thing is with Parramatta, they had a plan A, and that was Wayne Bennett, right? And they couldn't pull that off. They tried to do it in the shadows. They felt as though the only chance they were of getting that done is to do it in the background. And they didn't tell Brad Arthur. They told Brad Arthur the opposite. They said, we wouldn't do anything behind your back. In the end, they felt they had to do the best thing by the club, and their word to Brad Arthur didn't mean as much as what they had to do for the club. They did it. They missed out on Wayne. There's not a plan B per se. They don't actually have someone in mind that they want to target and get. So what they're going to do this week is sit down, map it all out. They've had a lot of managers, a lot of coaches, prospective coaches ring them and say, we're interested in the job. This is a pretty big job. It's a big club with a lot of resources and a pretty decent roster. So they're going to sit down this week, work out who those names are. There'll be Jason Riles, there'll be Justin Holbrook, Josh Hannay, Michael Maguire, and then work out what aligns with what they want to do as a football club. Michael Maguire, while he has the experience, there's a feeling at Parramatta that he's not too dissimilar to the style of coaching that Brad Arthur has implemented over the last decade. Jason Riles, I think, is with a big chance. He obviously had the job at the Dragons. He turned it down at the 11th hour. Justin Holbrook, I think he probably feels he owes the Roosters. He told the Roosters he'd be there for 2 years, but whether or not that eventuates. And I think Josh Hannay, and I think probably Billy's probably better off speaking about Josh Hannay's credentials, but Josh Hannay's proven himself with Cronulla and Queensland that he's a pretty handy assistant coach, and I think he's on the list as well. Then you can go left field. Someone like a Michael Checker, who's renowned for his ability to get the best out of players, but hasn't got the rugby league background and would require pretty good assistant coaches. He'd be someone they look at. And then there's Sam Burgess, who's starting his apprenticeship. He started pretty well at Warrington, but whether or not he's ready for the NRL and whether or not he wants to come over when he's negotiating an extension with Warrington remains to be seen. But they're the ones. And the other one left field is Mick Ennis. I think Mick's quite well regarded. People I've spoken to said he's one of the best talkers, he's motivators in the game, and whether or not he's had enough experience or not to step into the Parramatta job, time will tell. But I think the obvious ones are Jason Riles, Josh Hannay, Michael Maguire and Justin Holbrook.
Trent Barrett, he put his hand up for the job, I'm assuming?
Yeah, he's in the mix, but he probably...
That result the other night, or last night, does that hurt a coach's chance?
I think when Mitchell Moses comes back, that's going to be time. Time will tell whether or not he can get Mitchell to a level to get the team turned around and performing well. If he gets Parramatta into the 8 and gets them on a run, there's no doubt he'll come into the equation. But Parramatta, over the next 4 weeks, they're not in a rush. Their season is slipping away, which means they can spend some time and make sure that next decision is right. And Billy, I know you've said in the past, I imagine if you wanted to put your hand up, Parramatta would look at it, but you've obviously committed your future to Queensland.
Go on, Bill.
If you were looking at a head coaching job, what are you looking at? Not you. I'm not saying you in general, but as a coach looking at going into the NRL as a head coach, what are you looking at as a club, and does Parramatta tick the boxes?
I don't know. I've never thought about it because that's not what I want to do. Like, I'm Queensland's coach, and that's it. Look, I think the first thing is the playing roster's great. You know, there's obviously some injuries there in key positions at the moment. They're still not playing to their capabilities. This team is a much better team than what they displayed on the weekend. And they've got a really strong forward pack. They've got some exciting outside backs. I think Blaise Talangi is a real star of the future, and I'd be signing him up as soon as possible, you know, even before you get a coach. That's a priority there. I think there are a number of great candidates. I know Jason Riles really well. I've worked with him. I've played alongside him. He's done his time, and I think he's ready for a head coaching position. And Josh Hannay, I see firsthand, you know, throughout the Origin of the qualities that he brings, and you know, he's already had his time as caretaker coaches of a couple of clubs. He's had a whole heap of experience. I'm sure he's learning a lot under Craig Fitzgibbon at the moment, and I think he's a guy that would, you know, relish the opportunity of taking the reins of an NRL club as well. So, you know, there's a number of options there. It's about what's the right option for your club, and I'm sure that's what Parramatta are looking at the moment.
Joey, I ask you, you've worked at the club before, right?
Yeah.
There's noise around the club and from people within the game that the players, they have too much power at that club.
Really?
Did you sense that at all?
No.
The frustration, I guess, from Parramatta was that Brad maybe enabled a culture where the players had too much power. Did you sense that?
No, I didn't sense that at all. It was Brad was the boss. and he was the boss. No, I didn't see that at all. I haven't heard that, actually. No. I think at a lot of clubs, or pretty much all of them now, senior players have a lot of say, especially with the, what do they call it, the leadership group. Please.
Freddie,
One boss, the coach,
who
not a
do
dictator.
you think would suit that position at Parramatta best?
I think Rolsey's the man.
Yeah?
Rolsey's.
Well, from a rugby league point of view, I like the idea of Michael Checker. I think he's interesting. You know what? It's a big club. It's a very interesting club, and it's not your normal club. I've sort of grew up in that whole area. And, yeah, it's can be very political, that area, Parramatta. And I think sometimes as a coach isn't necessarily, the job isn't being a coach. You've got to get people on board and you've got to, you know, coaching the team's the easy part for a lot of first-grade teams at the
Got to
moment.
be a diplomat.
You got well. You got to.
Kevin Rudd might be a chip. Trump will.
ScoMo.
You know, like someone like, you know, from a footy point of view, Jason Rolls, obviously, he's been under great systems and understands systems and how to coach teams. So there's plenty of good people out there to do the job.
Well, time will tell. Keep an eye out on this space, and
It's a
we'll
good
be
club,
following.
but it's a great club. Parramatta's a great club.
Someone from Parramatta.
And
Angus Young from ACDC is from Parramatta. You might be all right.